Good evening, everyone. Wow. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm Anne-Marie Miller, Vice President of Development here at the museum. And on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for being here. All of our members and our Visionary Society members, all of our America 250 sponsors, our partners, the list goes on and on. But everybody in this room has done something to make this night and this year possible. So thank you so much to everybody here. And we're so excited to kick off this great America 250 year. And to help us do that, please welcome our board chairman, Mr. Todd Baker.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. America 250, 3 years in the making. How about that, huh? Wow. Wow. I love seeing Uncle Sam back here. Thank you, Uncle Sam, for being here. And Betsy Ross was somewhere. I got a picture with her. Thank you, Betsy. Appreciate that. I'm Todd Baker, chairman of the board of the Riverfront Museum. I want to thank all of you for being here on behalf of the board. If you're a board member, any board of the Riverfront Museum, raise your hand and be recognized, please. These are great people. They work tirelessly. Mary's hiding in back. I elevated her to chair by accident in the last one of these I did, so I won't do that again tonight. Thank you. Thank you. If you're a staff member, I got to just say this. A lot goes on in this museum. John stands up here and talks, and he's the tip of the spear, man. He makes it happen. But the staff of this place make it hum. If you're a staff member, stand up, be recognized, please. And as long as I'm doing that, there's a couple of guys here who were like at 5 minutes before people walked through this exhibit, we're still working, and they always are. And they were here the other night at 8 o'clock working, and I'm sure they were here last night at 8 o'clock working. So Danny and Harry, raise your hand. These guys really make it happen. I am going to do my best to be very, very brief and skip the hyperbole because we got John, so he'll take care of that for us. Seth Kaller is here in the house. I just want to share with you, you'll get a chance to hear from him tonight. He is not only the foremost American collector of documents and antiquities, he is a historian. And if you listen to him, you will learn. And I have had the opportunity to do that. And I'm just honored, Seth, to have you in the house tonight for Seth Kaller. Thank you. And he probably doesn't want me to say it, but there's a guy that's here tonight named Steve Wall. And some of the stuff you're going to see tonight is his. And one of the things he does is hang out with Seth to make Seth look good. I don't know where you are, Steve, but a round of applause for Steve, please. I want everybody to set their watch because right here it says John's going to talk for 7 minutes. I got the over on that, okay? It's not going to happen. I just want to say thank you for being here. This is an amazing beginning to a year-long exhibit. It is outstanding. I got the pre-exhibit. It's amazing. I can't wait for you to see it. And I'm going to invite John up. And as I do that, I just want to say, remember, we the people. We the people. John Morris.
America. Almost. Ladies and gentlemen, a special guest from upstate Illinois, representing for her country the entire Midwest, the Consul General of France, who has come to help us as the French came to help us 250 years ago. We wouldn't have a country without them. Help me welcome the Consul General of France, Charlotte Montel.
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Montel. I'm indeed the new French Consul General based in Chicago. And at the French Consulate, we've thought a lot about this America 250 celebrations, trying to track them around the Midwest, because I'm covering the entire Midwest, but especially in Illinois. And as we worked on this, with Gabrielle and all the work that is done by Illinois 250, we understood that this was the place where the things were happening. And I'm so happy to be here tonight because I'm totally overwhelmed by the quality of the exhibition that was put up by this museum. So congratulations. You feel like it's a Smithsonian type of exhibition here in Peoria. So congratulations to you guys, here because you really put the Peoria on the map for the celebrations, and you should be very proud. And more generally, I just want to send a message of friendship. We, the French, have a long history here with you, a common joint history that was celebrated again for the 300th anniversary 2 years ago, I understand. We are still, the best friends of the people of America. We love you. We love you very much. We have been the longest allies together, and we remain the longest allies ever. So don't change anything. We're great together, and it'll carry on. And from the side of the French government, you remain, our best friends, and I want you to be aware of that. And this exhibition is a very good example of what we've achieved together and what we'll continue to achieve. So thank you again for having me tonight. I have to drive back to my home in Chicago, but I'm very, very honored to be part of this celebration tonight. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. 2 years, high school French. God bless the French people, and we look forward, Madam Consul General, to much more to come between this French settled community and the people of France. God bless. Safe travels back. We're the city of gratitude, so I'm going to start with some gratitude. Years ago, as Mr. Chairman Todd Baker, what a terrific chairman we have for this board of directors, and the best board imaginable. But years ago, in a very sophisticated method, sitting at home, I remember thinking, 1776, if you count forward, I remember as a boy in 1976, the bicentennial, and so, wait a minute, that's coming up 4 years from now. So he came to the staff, I said, we're going to put together the greatest America 250 celebration in the land. They said, well, when is it? It was coming up, 2026. So our friend in quilts, Ken Burns, who sent his quilts, only 3 museums in the country, said to Bill Conger, who could we possibly get to be the guest curator? Let's call Ken Burns. So I sent him a note because he made the mistake of giving me his personal email address. And 1 day later, Ken Burns said, I'm in. I've never done anything like this. I'm a filmmaker, but tell me what I need to do. So we record a video, which we will play 100 times in the Giant Screen Theater per week, talking about how great Peoria is, which he did. He did Zoom calls with us. We met with him in Colonial Williamsburg, which we have Jerry Shaheen to thank. Some of you know Jerry, retired Caterpillar executive on the board of Colonial Williamsburg, who helped us get the Gilbert Stuart portrait of George Washington tonight. We're grateful for that. And in those meetings in Colonial Williamsburg, it was so much fun. Bill Conger and I were just going around shaking hands with it. What do? I run George Washington's Mount Vernon. what do you do? I said, I run the only multidisciplinary museum of its kind in America, and we're going to do the greatest America 250 celebration. You are? I said, yes, we are. So we went over to one table, and there was a fellow there with some brochures that said the Promise of Liberty on them. I said, what's your name? He said, Seth Keller. I said, now wait a minute. Mark Shankman, the man who lent us those incredible political flags, you remember that exhibition, has been talking about a Seth Keller for years. It turns out Mark Shankman is a client and friend of Seth Keller. So we struck up a conversation, and lo and behold, I said, Seth, what are you doing? He said, I have a dream to put together this greatest exhibition on American political liberty, the promise of liberty that has ever been done. And I said, Peoria has Ken Burns as a guest curator. I didn't actually know what that meant quite yet. And we are the only multidisciplinary museum of our kind in America. I said, why don't we host it in Peoria? And so Seth took a bet on this town to bring together the greatest American documents exhibition within the framework of this dream, and we named the exhibition for the title that he had from his longstanding dream, The Promise of Liberty. And what a great title it is, and what a great concept it is. Todd mentioned it, and I'm often praising you, and I should. The donors of this museum are amazing. You've heard me say this before, but I'll say it again. When I got here 9 years ago in April, we had 99 members of the Visionary Society. Today, we are at 500, closing in on 580 members of the Visionary Society, with a 1,000% increase in annual giving from you all in this room who give so generously to the Visionary Society. There is not another museum in the country who can claim that. And that's worth, did you applaud? Exactly. You're a future Visionary Society member. You belong to the family. So you have made this possible. The major donors who have stood up number, I cannot make this up, 76 major donors. This is true. And hopefully it'll be like 80 before we leave tonight. But 76 major donors have given $2.2 million to make this Promise of Liberty and the whole America 250 exhibition series possible. It's pretty amazing. And we're getting started. This is the beginning of the year, folks, because we're going to push out into the end of the year to an exhibition that talks about the price of liberty. It happens that this is the 25th anniversary of the attacks of 9/11. Attacks on our freedom, attacks on our liberty. And we are going to close out this year. The Promise of Liberty will be up the entire year. We're going to close out this year with a remarkable exhibition. The first time the 9/11 Museum in New York City has partnered with another museum on a full-fledged exhibition. Megan Wynn is here, our Bridges Fellow, has been working on that. And in the house tonight are people who have graciously worked with us to provide elements of that collection and to help us in the memory of their son, the only Peorian lost in 9/11, Charles Chip Chan. His parents are with us tonight, Julie and John Chan. God bless you all, and thank you for allowing us. And in the midst of this whole celebration, we're going to do the most remarkable performance that we have ever seen for America. Many of you know Linda Beth and Ed Sutkowski. They generously poured in a substantial gift at the beginning of last year to help us plan to do something over the top. So look at this transformation of this hall. Performance stage with the museum multidisciplinary content around it. It's pretty cool. So on this stage, although I think we're going to move it, Jenny Parker's our director of performance, move it, and two of the most talented people we have ever met, Dr. Julie Gunn and Nathan Gunn, are here with us tonight. We're going to hear from them as a little surprise at the end. And they have prepared I Hear America Singing for this stage, an anthology of 25 amazing American anthems. And that will be March 27th to 28th. So do we have enough going on? Are we going to live up to it? There's somebody who champions this town as much as any other, and I am grateful to have been his friend for many, many years. Been the friend of his wife for a few more, although she's much younger. And in retirement, he could have gone anywhere, done anything, and he's devoted himself to making Greater Peoria greater. Please help me welcome the chairman of the Gilmore Foundation, the leader of the Greater Peoria Leadership Council, the Choose Greater Peoria leader, and the former chairman and CEO of Caterpillar, my friend Doug Oberhelman.
Well, thank you, John. And I've always was warned, don't follow John to the stage, whatever you do, but I'm going to do my best tonight. Thank all of you for coming to this. We've had this as a dream for years, as you all know. Today's a big day for the Peoria Riverfront Museum, for Peoria, and this year for America. So we welcome all of you. Diane and I are delighted that you're here, and she and I and 4 of 13 grandchildren in the front row are really over the top about what we're about to unfold and see here at the Riverfront Museum over this year. Lots of great things coming. Due to a lot of work from the board and from John and a lot of people, the Riverfront Museum is in many ways the community center. And we were reminded of that this morning during the press conference when the place was full of children on their field trips. And coincidentally, little Tilly came running out of the back room and said, I'm on my field trip, I'm on my field trip. And Bo was here also, and I didn't see him. But it's kind of nice to see hundreds of kids take over the museum. John introduced them. They had a great time. He had them chanting, We the People. And it really makes you feel like this is the hub, the center, the beating heart of our community. And it's only taken 12 years for you to do that, John, but really good work. America 250, Peoria 10,000, if you think about it. Because in this river valley, 10,000 years ago, or probably more, who knows, there was a thriving, not metropolis, but certainly thriving society of Native Americans making their living, their families, their dreams out of this river and out of the valley. And when you think about that, we're probably pretty exceptional because not everybody can claim that 10,000 years before the founding of the country. So that's a very special place, and I think Peoria is very exceptional for that reason and many others. But I think America is exceptional also, and I know that word gets used often, but I think it is true. Diane and I have traveled extensively over the world. I've lived on 3 continents, and I can't tell you the number of times in my past that people have said, United States of America, the best country there is in the world, for lots of reasons, democracy being the first. I've seen some of the worst countries in the world where there's no democracy, where there's very little society for that matter. They couldn't dream of doing something like this and walking out the door in freedom. It's really an exceptional country, and I think Peoria is an exceptional place. And as I was thinking about this, I thought, you know, what can I think about that ties Peoria and America together over the years? Certainly 350 years ago, the French were here, and Madame Consul's left, but what a great statement she makes, our oldest ally, and it's true. Everybody thinks the Brits are our oldest ally, but it's the French that were here and bailed us out, and we often forget about that. But they were here, and they helped us, and they arrived when George Washington needed them most, when a young America needed them most, and 100 years later, they bailed out George Washington in America. But they were here in Peoria 100 years before that, 350 years ago. So I got to thinking a little further about the Civil War, trying to think about big events in the country, and who other than Abe Lincoln gave multiple speeches here in Peoria, Illinois. His picture's on a mural up on the courthouse, right here in Peoria. Other cities can claim that too, but it was here and during the Civil War that divided us, and Abraham Lincoln united us. And I got to thinking then about how the United States got to where it was and is today on the global scale. And it was really around the turn of the century, 1900. And I got to thinking about the Panama Canal for kind of selfish reasons here. But the Panama Canal was started by the French in the 1880s. There was a big debate in the country. Should it be Nicaragua? Should it be Panama? Panama won out. Teddy Roosevelt went down and dedicated it in 1914. The majority of that canal, that ditch as he called it, was dug by Caterpillar Bucyrus shovels. Little known fact, but it's true. And I've seen pictures of that. And he was on one of those shovels in 1914 when he was there visiting, when they opened the canal. Another big connection to Peoria area and central Illinois right here. Then I got to think about another big event, World War II. America, the great company, saved the world from socialism. Well, every construction piece of equipment in Southeast Asia, Europe, most of that was supplied by Caterpillar, and all of those Caterpillar machines in the 40s were built in East Peoria, Illinois. And another great tie to the Peoria area and America, two exceptional areas. I'm a child of the Vietnam era, and I can remember my dad at the height of that, or the depth of that, saying this country will never recover again. Never recover again. Well, it did. You can talk about some of that today. We'll recover. I'm absolutely confident in that, but I don't want to get into that. What I want to say is Diane and I were fortunate to get to know General Colin Powell a little bit. I'll never forget the first time we met him. He said, "Oh, you're from Caterpillar." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You from Peoria?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I will tell you that D8 bulldozer saved more lives than any rifle or tank ever made." And every time we saw him after that, he'd tell that same story, that his men would be behind those tanks going in Vietnam, and that's what he looked forward to most, was the protection from that big bulldozer. And I thought, you know, you can't make this stuff up. Those D8s were built in East Peoria, Illinois, and until recently, have been there all the period of time. So I think, you know, as we recover from all that and think about the exceptionalism of America and Peoria, I hope that America 250 can be maybe the catalyst or a catalyst to reunite our country. And here in Peoria, American 250 at the Riverfront Museum can do the same for the Peoria area. So I have high expectations that over this year, we'll really see Peoria, the Peoria area, light up and be the beacon. I'm hoping that we'll be recognized far and wide. We already are really early out of the gates, and I'm thinking that press is going to start to come our way, and we can take advantage of that. Peoria's got so much going for it. We can attract people to come here. We've learned that through our initiatives of Choose Greater Peoria. We've got lots of feelers out around the country to attract people to come, and they will come when told the story, and we take care of them. We're also being named in the Peoria area for all kinds of lists on affordability, best place to live. I'm sure the politicians in town can quote all those better than I can, but it's kind of remarkable because sometimes we get down on ourselves here, and we shouldn't. And that's why we started the Greater Peoria Leadership Group and Choose Greater Peoria about 3 years ago. And you'll start to see some of that, and this should be kind of our top year for results in conjunction with America 250 and alongside Peoria Riverfront Museum. So I am really, really optimistic. We just can't believe we've got this kind of an asset in our front yard, and it's become the community center for the region that it is. Tens of thousands of school kids from throughout the state come here. I remember my first trip, Museum of Science and Industry in the 8th grade. I'll never forget that. Going to Chicago in a school bus was a big deal. I remember to this day. All these kids that come here will remember that too down the road. And they hopefully will build on leading and bringing Peoria to the next level in the future. So to the board of the Riverfront Museum, all the supporters, thank you. This is a tremendous event, and it's only going to snowball as we go from here. So thank you all very much for being here.
Help me welcome Bill Conger, Chief Curator of the Peoria Riverfront Museum, who represents the best curatorial staff in America. Bill Conger.
Well, 3 years of planning, 2 years of weekly meetings, 1 year of securing objects, probably 3 or 4 weeks of late nights. And this curatorial team got it done. I have the best curatorial team in the country. Give them a round of applause. Unbelievable. John's not kidding. We were in Colonial Williams, or before Colonial Williamsburg, he decided that Ken Burns would be the guest curator. It wasn't, he's kind of putting it across as if it were a question. He convinced Ken that, yeah, this is the right move. Ken is so excited about what you're about to see tonight. But what I need to mention is while we were planning for the most comprehensive, most important assembly of American documents in history, we decided to do this. We decided to put together an exhibition in here called Deep River Long Roads, which is curated by our registrar and curator of collections, Caitlin Bauslog. So please give her a round of applause. This is exceptional work. I have a long list of people, so I apologize ahead of time, but you need to hear their names. I need to thank Zach Zetterberg and Megan Nguyen. Zach Zetterberg is our curator of art and, of course, director of the Center for American Decoys. Megan is our Art Bridges Fellow. The two of them worked closely with Seth Kaller in realizing Promise of Liberty for probably a year, at least a year. And without their tenacity and their dedication and vision that this can really happen, this exhibition is just a figment. So another round of applause for Zach and Megan. All of the things that you see, all of the lighting, the rigging, the walls, the placement of pedestals, the way things complement each other, the way things speak to each other, the interaction of objects to paintings, to sculpture, to photography, it's all made possible by the curatorial team, but none of that happens without an amazing array of people that I have got to thank. The IATSE Local 193 Stagehands Union have been working with us for probably, Harry, a year now, 2 years. And man, they brought it this year. They made this happen. Please, another round of applause for IATSE. And I just want to give quick shouts to Matt Erickson, Everly Davis, Sadie Helmick, Abby McComb, Jenny Parkhurst, Renee Kerrigan, David Steve, Johnny Martinez, Mike B., Mary Etrick. Special recognition for proofing and editing labels, which is no fun. That is no fun. And probably the most interesting, our IT director, Jason Frank, who literally was Nicolas Cage yesterday, up to Chicago, back with the Declaration of Independence, securing it for just in the nick of time for the show. We've mentioned Harry Sidebotham and Danny Rohr earlier, but I want to make sure that everyone understands that this installation crew, we are small but mighty, is able to take on 2 major exhibitions in about a month's time. And I think I could have given them another and they probably would have got it done. They are absolute madmen, and we're so lucky to have them. Harry, Danny, thank you. Promise of Liberty, of course, doesn't happen without the inspiration of Ken Burns' dedication to America and really understanding the complexity of America and really trying to get to the heart of the real America, whatever that is, as it ebbs and flows and changes. His lifelong commitment is the reason Promise of Liberty happened as an exhibition, but there is no one else that we can thank for the documents that we have in this exhibition than Seth Keller, whose intellectual command of the subject has enabled us to make the impossible possible. You're going to hear from Seth in a minute. There are some lenders to the exhibition who are anonymous. There are quite a few. But there are also some that are not. And we are so proud of the lenders and the private lenders, but also the institutes that assisted in the loans of some of the most amazing documents, objects, paintings in America, and they are all under our roof at the same time. Let me just go through a quick list. Mark and Rosalind Schenkman, Brian and Barbara Hendelson, the George Norcross family, the Fine Art Group, Steve Wall, who is with us tonight. Raise your hand, Steve, you're over here. Randy and Nancy Root, Jeff Pressman, Tim Peterson, the Gilder Lehrman Institute, the Harvard Radcliffe Institute, the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, the Smithsonian National Portrait Library, the Museums of Colonial Williamsburg, continuing a long relationship with them, Graham Rader Gallery in New York City, Bloomberg Connects, lastly and not least, Art Bridges of Bentonville, Arkansas. So if we could give them all a round of applause. And I'm going to leave here, but I want to make sure everyone understands. This is a celebration of Promise of Liberty, but America 250 is a year-long celebration in which every exhibition under the roof of this museum celebrates America. So we have Promise of Liberty, we have Joyful Resistance, which Everly Davis curated, still on display. That opened in November. Deep Rivers, Long Roads, the exhibition that you're here right now, which will feature, as John mentioned, I Hear America Singing, featuring Julie and Nathan Gunn. Crazy, incredible. We have an exhibition on toys coming, Toytopia. It's going to be a look back at your American past in terms of the most important years of your life. We remember stories from the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, in which we are being allowed into the vault of the 9/11 Memorial Museum to curate from their collection a vision of the worst memory in modern history, probably world history, and allowing us to tell that story through the eyes of Peoria, Illinois. It's going to be incredible. Peoria Plays America is a series of exhibitions in which we will focus on performers, both in entertainment and as well as sports icons. We will feature Gary Richrath, Dan Fogelberg, and Richard Pryor. They're all going to have their own exhibition here in the museum. Transportation Revolution, which is curated by our curator of science, Renee Kerrigan, is going to be a phenomenal look at how transportation has allowed for America to blossom and become what it is. And an incredible little add-on, not an add-on, it's going to be amazing, Exquisite Creatures, which will bring the life, color, and science of animals to our museum as well. So we're so pleased and proud to represent the founding documents of America through the promise of liberty. And that's enough with me. Please help me introduce the person who helped make this exhibition happen, Seth Keller.
Before I even start about the promise of liberty, first of all, how many people have gotten a chance to walk in the exhibit and seen it? So, great. Some of you. John made me promise not to talk for more than 1 minute per object in the exhibit. I'll try to keep to that. Before I even talk about that, I just want to say thank you for having me here. And I had a flashback to the very first museum exhibition that I worked on. In New York City, we had the first draft of the US Constitution, the second draft of the US Constitution, Hamilton's plan for the US Constitution, the final text of the Constitution, Ben Franklin's copy. And it was a wonderful museum on Fifth Avenue in a great gallery that closed at 5 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock, 400 people, half of them teachers, came in to hear a great speaker about the Constitution. And I'm sitting right next to the director of that museum, and I can't get him to open the freaking door to that exhibition room. So all these people come in to hear about the Constitution, and they weren't even allowed to see it. And I was thinking about that really for the first time today in 30 years, when 2 minutes before this exhibition opens, the CFO is mopping the floor. And Bill Conger, the chief curator, is smushing the labels, making the exhibition labels. And the exhibition staff and the whole team is just, everybody is coming together to make this happen. And I'm just, from that initial conversation that we had in Williamsburg to the present, I am so thrilled that I get to create the Promise of Liberty exhibition in Peoria. So thank you for having me here. I'm not really a historian. My job is to buy and sell historic documents. I'm a used paper dealer, really. But over the years, these things, I've been frustrated by buying and selling the most important documents in American history and seeing them go into very prestigious museum collections and being shown the same way everywhere. Here's a copy of the Declaration of Independence. Here's the bibliography, who printed it, who created it, whatever. Without a real depth of understanding of what they mean. And the name The Promise of Liberty came to me a couple of years ago when I was asked to lend a Declaration of Independence, an original copy, to the Jefferson Memorial for an event on July 4th. So, of course, I said yes, and what are you going to do with it? And their plan was to read it, which I thought was a horrible plan. Because, not that I'm against reading, but you talk about the Declaration of Independence. If you read it, first of all, 7 minutes are grievances, which 3 years ago I said we don't care about anymore. Now if you read it, and we're making a whole wall about the grievances in the Declaration, about a third of them are back in the news today. But the problem with the Declaration of Independence is that the best part is the worst part. If today you say, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, so many people think, those freaking hypocrites, why should we care what these slave-holding men said 250 years ago about liberty? How does it connect to us? Why does it matter? And so I was looking for a way to explain why it matters. And the best explanation that I found actually came from Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech from the March on Washington, where in 1963, before the effect of the civil rights movement succeeded, he has every reason to be bitter about the founding and to really oppose the nation that came from that. And instead, he called the Declaration and the Constitution a promissory note, one that all Americans would one day become heir to. And I thought that actually is why, the founders, they weren't delusional when they said all men are created equal. They weren't describing what they thought was their reality. They were creating an aspiration, a path towards liberty that would become greater as time went on, as possibility went on, as the path that they laid out for us was created. And so I thought, Declaration of Independence and the Promise of Liberty, and MLK talked about the Declaration and the Constitution. We talk about the 250th, the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, as if it was the founding of our country. It was the ideological founding, but even John Hancock in his cover letter when he sent the Declaration called it the ground and foundation of a future government. The Declaration, it's the greatest breakup note in the history of the world, and it's the greatest press release in the history of the world. It doesn't create a government. What does that is the Constitution, 2 galleries further from the Declaration. And you'll see the Constitution, and what I hope that people can see after this exhibit is that the Constitution wasn't created to be history. It was created to be technology. It was a system of organizing knowledge to solve problems. The Constitution is our operating system, and it works to the extent that we make it work, that we keep updating it, that we get involved in it, that we put new inputs in, that younger people care about it. So what I love about the idea of celebrating the 250th is that we're not looking back. We're taking what we can learn from the past and we're looking forward. We're trying to introduce it as technology. And we don't just talk about the promise of liberty. Throughout the exhibition, you'll also see, and we don't use these words as often, but the paradox of liberty is as certain people are claiming rights and succeeding and creating a nation, it also comes at the expense of other people. There are always clashes and trade-offs. The Constitution, in the cover letter that George Washington wrote and sent with the Constitution, which I think were the first people I've displayed, the most important printings of the Constitution. I think we're the first people that actually talk about the cover letter that sent it, where George Washington says, in order to preserve liberty, you have to give up a share of liberty. And the hardest thing that government does is adjudicate those differences of deciding how the most important things to our safety and security, they require sacrifices. They require trade-offs. Every right is in opposition to every other right. And what America does best, when it does it well, is to use this system of technology to bring people together, to compromise, to solve problems. And that's what I hope, to see from this exhibition. So there are things from the founding, there are things from the refounding, the Civil War, and the Reconstruction Amendments, women's suffrage, and then the Civil Rights Movement. But the flow through of the exhibition are words. There are lots of words, but there are words that made this country. And Sophia Bush, an actor who's also a liberal icon, is made fun of by her friends who say, why do you, this young woman who's ahead of the Me Too movement or involved in Black Lives Matter and all, why do you care about what these dead white males said about liberty, these slaveholders said about liberty? And she said she cares because their words knew before they did. They created a path. They were talking about liberty, and a word that they wouldn't have had then, but we have now, is manifestation. They are putting these ideas out into the world as aspirations, but as something that we can become, and I hope we will become. And the first step is to learn from the past for the future. And I am so grateful to John Morris, to the Peoria Riverfront Museum, to all of the supporters for really allowing me to bring this dream here, and from here to open it up and to allow it to be a resource for the rest of the country and the world. So thanks so much for having me.
The absolute best newspaper salesman we know. Seth Kaller, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless Mark Shankman for really putting us together. He's here in spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome the face of the Illinois America 250, the chair of the commission and the head of the Illinois Humanities Council. Help me welcome Gabriel Lyon, to this room. Gabe, welcome.
How you doing? Right? I know. It's a lot. So I'm so curious. First of all, I really want to thank John and the entire museum just for having me here and letting me be part of this extraordinary, I mean, we are all part of a history-making moment right now. These documents have never all been put together in one place at one time with this continuum of history. So I just like, I like being part of history. Thank you so much. So I'm curious, how many people here live in Peoria that have come out tonight? Okay, how many people here were born in Peoria? Wow, this is amazing. So you know better even than I do what it means to have this convergence, this confluence in this place. It's really extraordinary, and thank you for having me. I love Peoria. I do little secret trips when work gets really hard. I'm like, oh, I have to travel for work, and then I come to Peoria and I drink coffee and I write, and I just love coming here. You have a great knitting store. You probably know the knitting store? Yeah, okay. Seriously, how many people have heard of Illinois Humanities? Few folks, great. It's so nice to have you. Oh, hello, hi. Illinois Humanities, we're a statewide nonprofit organization, and we are always working towards one thing, to have people in conversation with each other about what matters. So we do some grant making, we do free public programs, sometimes we travel small exhibits, nothing on the scale that's here. But I'm really here tonight in my role as chair of the Illinois America 250 Commission. And the first thing the commission did for the better part of a year was just ask people what they wanted to have happen out of this anniversary. We're not one of the first 13 colonies. We're not one of those OGs. We did have the first, well, really the westernmost battle of the American Revolution was fought in what was now Illinois. But, when you say to people, oh, this big anniversary is coming, and sometimes people remember the bicentennial, they had their lunchbox. Anybody here have one of those 1976 lunchboxes? Right? Right. So, there's some memories, but what we heard and what I heard over and over, and I traveled to almost every one of the 102 counties here in Illinois, is the first thing is people want to be able to tell the story of where they live. They want to uplift their local places, the power of place. The second thing is they really wanted to have a lot of different voices, especially intergenerational voices. And the last thing, and I think it's a testament that we're revitalizing these documents, they really wanted to use this anniversary as a way to think about the future. How can we leverage these ideals? So flash forward, and I know it's getting late, so I'm gonna fast track a few things, so the commission really has come up with 3 themes, and folks are in almost really any town you can imagine, there are plans underway. You might not be hearing about them yet. They're certainly not on the grand world-class scale of what's happening here,
but they're all happening, and they're around these ideas of we the people, the power of place, and doing history. So the commission's really organizing around this document, so you can have a pocket-sized copy of the Declaration of Independence. Do not take the real one. That would be very serious, would be very unfortunate, very serious, and also they'll know that you took it because it's basically the only one around, so it's going to be recognizable immediately, right, Seth? Is that right? Yeah, okay. He'll know. So, but you can have your own pocket-sized copy, and if you haven't read it recently, it's a great read. It's a breakup letter, but it's a call to interdependence. So, over the next year in Illinois, we're really grounded in the ideals of the Declaration of Independence, and I just want to say a few things from my particular perspective. This exhibition in this place is really, in my personal opinion, and I'm just 5.5 feet tall, so I'm not very tall, but I do believe that it is emblematic of what is most possible and best about this anniversary. And it's what this anniversary can be about. It can be about the source material, it's about the interpretation, and what is happening right here in Peoria. There is nothing else like it in the country. Nothing else like it in the country. I'm on monthly calls with commissions from around the country. There is nothing else like this assembly. And it's not just that the documents are here. It's what the board chair said. Where is he? There he is. He took a back seat. I don't know why. It's free for kids. Every kid in the state of Illinois can come and visit, and their teachers can come, and this is then the hearth, our common hearth. So it's both of these things. It's not just that they're here, it's how they're here, and this radical, radical invitation. So the humanist in me, because I'm a humanist, you know, we're a big believer of taking a statement like promise of liberty, and then turning it into a question, like, what do we mean by the promise of liberty? And suddenly we get to have a conversation together. So I guess that's the last thing. I just kind of want to remind us of all in this moment. This is a public moment. It's ethereal. We are here the first night it's open, that this exhibit is open. Hundreds of thousands of people will come and see it. You were the first. I mean, that's pretty awesome. But just by coming here and forming a public in this moment and choosing to be part of this conversation, you are part of what generations of Illinoisans have done to work to make good on these ideals. Musicians, artists, abolitionists, labor rights movement, women's movement, defenders of free speech, all here in Illinois, all helped the nation become better, become more fiercely protective of what makes us this incredible democratic project. So really, on behalf of Illinois America 250 Commission, I just want to say thank you so much for this invitation to engage with this fundamental question: how might we continue this legacy here in Illinois of making good on the promises in this Declaration of Independence? Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations.
Gabe, thank you for that. And also the acknowledgement that the road that goes up to Chicago comes from Chicago to Peoria. As you take advantage of the coffee here, which I appreciate, let's get these upstaters coming here where it's happening. So, ladies and gentlemen, to close out the program tonight, and I won't bring her forward, but I want to acknowledge her. Linda Beth Setkowski is an amazing human being. She is a tremendous patron. Do you want to come? Can I bring you up? She doesn't want to come up. At least stand up. Let's acknowledge Linda. An amazing, amazing person. Linda is the chair of the Performance Advisory Council. We call it Museum Plus. And with her husband, Ed, they helped fund the idea that we're the greatest museum of art and science and history and achievement, but we could also be a museum where performance brings this place to life like no other museum. So to close us out tonight, led by the two people we were smart enough to appoint as our guest curators for performance to help us lead the Museum Plus effort, in the first attempt to build a stage and an exhibition in the same space, on this stage, they will bring us the incredible I Hear America Singing original anthology of 25 songs, and to perform a little sneak peek. Is it a peek if you hear it? A sneak here of I Hear America Singing. Help me welcome to the stage Dr. Julie Gunn and Nathan Gunn.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, my goodness.
We
Hello.
love being at the Peoria Riverfront Museum, and we love being with all of you. About a year ago, John came to visit us in Champaign and said, Linda and Ed have made this hugely generous gift, and I want you to think about some sort of performance to celebrate the Declaration of Independence. And so we thought about it quite a bit. And we thought that our instinct was to give a lyrical response, a poet's response, or an artist's response to what it is to be an American. None of us were there when we were founded, and yet we are all Americans, so what do we all have in common? We did a lot of reading, and we got to Walt Whitman rather quickly, and he wrote a lot about this, but what we settled on, because we know something about singing and not much else, that I Hear America Singing would be the poem that spoke to us. It turns out it spoke to a lot of people, and that Langston Hughes and later Allison Adele Hedge-Koch wrote tributes to that. So we have I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman, and then we have I Too Sing America, I Am the Darker Brother from Langston Hughes, and then America, I Sing You Back from Allison Adele Hedge-Koch, which all characterize America through song. And then we started to think, well, when Americans sing about being Americans, what do they sing about? And it turns out that a lot of times they're singing about the promised land. And that reminded me of what John told me in the first place, that we were talking about the promise of liberty, a place that we all believe in, that we all can kind of see, and that we can all agree we haven't quite gotten to. And so that's the theme of our performance. Nathan is going to sing that song, that very song, Bound for the Promised Land, as I make my way to the piano.
And you'll notice that a lot of these stories about a promised land have to do with bridges and rivers, strangely enough. But it occurred to me when Seth had mentioned that Dr. King said that the Declaration of Independence was the first, was sort of a promissory note. I thought, wow, this first song is appropriate because of that. And if you listen to the words, you'll find that perhaps these words refer to the very first promissory note we got about this promised land and the promise of liberty. On Jordan's stormy banks I stand and cast a wishful eye to Canaan's fair and happy land where my possessions lie. I'm bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land. They're generous fruits that never fail, on trees immortal grow. They're rocks and hills and brooks and vales, with milk and honey flow. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh Lord, I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land.
Do they think up stories that link my name with yours?
Why do the neighbors gossip all day behind their doors?
I know a way to prove what they say is quite untrue. Here is the gist, a practical list of don'ts for you. Don't throw bouquets at me. Don't please my folks too much. Don't laugh at my jokes too much. People will say we're in love.
Who laughs at your jokes?
Don't sigh and gaze at me. Your sighs are so like mine. Your eyes mustn't glow like mine. People will say we're in love. Don't start collecting things.
Like what?
Give me my rose and my glove. Sweetheart, they're suspecting things. People will say we're in love.
Some people claim that you are to blame as much as I. Why do you take the trouble to bake my favorite pie? Granting your wish, I carved our initials on that tree. Just keep a slice of all the advice you give so free. Don't praise my charm too much. Don't look so vain with me. Don't stand in the rain with me. People will say we're in love. Don't take my arm too much. Don't keep your hand in mine. Your hand feels so grand in mine. People will say we're in love. Don't dance all night with me till the stars fade from above. They'll see it's all right with me.
That was Nathan Tilton and Catherine Kuhar, a couple of two wonderful young singers. So this last piece is by, is it Jay Gorney who wrote this? It is, right? Well, this is one of my favorites. It honestly reminds me of my grandfather who fought in the Second World War, was around during the Depression and all of that. And even though it's a bit rough around the edges sometimes, when we're a country that is going through some difficulties, it reminds me that we should all be quite generous to each other. They used to tell me I was building a dream, and so I followed the mob. When there was earth to plow or guns to bear, I was always there, right there on the job. They used to tell me I was building a dream with peace and glory ahead. Why should I be standing in line, just waiting for bread? Once I built a railroad, made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once I built a tower to the sun, brick and rivet and lime. Once I built a tower, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once in khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of that Yankee Doodle dum. 500,000 boots went slogging through hell. I was a kid with a drum. Say, don't you remember, they call me Al. It was Al all the time. Say, don't you remember, I'm your pal. Buddy, can you spare a dime? Once in khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of that Yankee Doodle dum. 500,000 boots went slogging through hell. I was a kid with a drum. Oh, say, don't you remember, they call me Al. It was Al all the time. Say, don't you remember, I'm your pal. Buddy, can you spare a dime? John, are you back up here? Julie Gunn, Nathan Tilton, Catherine Kuhar. And now, John Morris.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nathan Gunn, Julie Gunn, and company. For those who are not already familiar with this fact, that is a world-class performance on a world-class stage in a world-class start to a world-class country's 250th birthday. Thank you, the donors, the members, the community. Let's show this nation what we can do. Let's get it started. God bless. Thank you.
Surprise for you in the lobby if you want to head out there. There'll be a lovely fireworks display in just a few minutes. So please head out to the lobby and look out the window.